Have you ever walked into the kitchen only to forget what you came for? Or stared at a familiar face, and the name just wouldn't come? Maybe you've told yourself, it's just age, or laughed it off with a quiet, I'm getting old, but what if I told you you're not forgetting? You're fading too fast. Not because your brain is broken, but because it's underfueled. You see, memory isn't just about age. It's about blood flow. It's about nutrients. It's about connection between cells and what happens when those connections go quiet. Your brain is like a light bulb on dim mode. The wiring still works, but the power supply has slowed. And that's not a permanent problem. That's something we can fix. I'm Dr. Catherine Rocker. For over 30 years, I've helped men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s stay sharp, clear, and fully present. Not by chasing pills or chasing youth, but by feeding the brain what it actually needs. In this video, I'm going to share 5 simple foods you can eat every day to support memory, improve focus, and help your brain come back online gently, naturally, and for good. If you've ever looked in the mirror and wondered where your clarity went, this might be the moment you begin to get it back. And it all starts with understanding why the mind fades in the first place. Most men don't notice it happening. Not at first. You're still independent. You're still sharp in conversation. But one day, you forget where you left your keys. Then a friend's name slips your mind. You start rereading the same paragraph twice, and by the third time, you quietly wonder, what's happening to me? Let me be clear. This isn't Alzheimer's. This isn't dementia. This is something far more common and far more reversible. It's called cognitive drift. And it's not a disease. It's a pattern caused by small changes in blood flow, nutrition, and nerve signaling. You see, after 60, your brain receives up to 15% less blood flow. That means fewer nutrients, less oxygen, and slower waste removal. Think of it like traffic congestion in your head. Signals get delayed, thoughts get cloudy. And then there's inflammation, the silent disruptor. If you're not getting enough omega-3s, or if your blood sugar spikes and crashes, your brain cells start to pull back. Not because they're dying, but because they're trying to protect themselves. Finally, there's nutrient deficiency. B12, choline, magnesium. These are the building blocks of memory, focus, and clarity. And most men over 60 are quietly running low. So when you feel like you're slipping, you're not imagining it. But it's not permanent. Your brain still wants to work. It's just been waiting for the right fuel and the right conditions to fire again. And that's what I'll show you, starting with the story of a man who felt himself slipping, and made it back. John was 73 when he first came to see me, a retired Navy officer. Sharp, proud, a man who used to command attention without raising his voice. But that day, he looked different. Tired behind the eyes. Frustrated in a way that words couldn't quite capture. He sat down and said, "Doc, I forgot my granddaughter's name. We were playing a board game, and suddenly it was gone. Just gone." He paused. That never used to happen. I always remembered names, directions, numbers, everything. But now, things were slipping slowly, quietly, but unmistakably. He told me it wasn't just names. He'd reread the same lines in the newspaper. Lose focus halfway through conversations. And when he stood in front of the open fridge, he'd often forget what he was looking for. He wasn't scared. Not yet. But he was ashamed. Embarrassed. And worst of all, starting to doubt himself. I looked at him and said, "John, this isn't failure. This is your brain asking for support." We ran some simple assessments. And sure enough, his B12 levels were low. His diet was missing key nutrients like choline, omega-3s, and antioxidants. And he wasn't sleeping well, which meant his brain had no time to reset. I explained to him, "Your brain isn't broken, it's underfed, underrested, and overworked. We built a new routine. Nothing extreme. Just 5 real foods. Timed right. Eaten daily. And designed to give his brain what it had been missing. 3 weeks later, he walked into my office with something different in his voice: lightness. He smiled and said, "I remembered my neighbor's name this morning without even trying, and yesterday, I beat my grandson at Scrabble." He wasn't bragging. He was beaming. Because for the first time in months, John felt present. Clear. Like himself again. That's the power of restoring blood flow, feeding your brain cells, and letting your nervous system breathe. And now, I want to show you the exact 5 foods that helped him get there, starting with the 2 that completely changed his mornings. Let's start where your brain wakes up first: your breakfast plate. Most men over 60 either skip breakfast altogether or reach for something quick: toast, coffee, maybe a processed bar. But the brain doesn't run well on sugar and speed. It needs real fuel, and it needs it first thing in the morning. That's why I gave John 2 foundational brain foods that are simple, affordable, and incredibly effective. Let's walk through them. Booster number 1. 2 boiled eggs. Your morning memory builders. Eggs are one of the most powerful brain foods you'll ever eat. Not just because of the protein, but because of a nutrient called choline. Choline is the raw material your body uses to create acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter critical for memory, focus, and learning. And here's the key: most men over 60 don't get enough choline. Especially if they've cut back on red meat or full eggs. In addition to choline, eggs are rich in vitamin B12, supports nerve function and prevents brain shrinkage; leucine, an amino acid that supports brain cell repair; selenium protects the brain against oxidative stress. John started with 2 boiled eggs each morning. Sometimes with a pinch of sea salt. Sometimes with half an avocado. Within days, he told me, "I feel more steady when I read the paper. I don't have to reread the same paragraph anymore." Booster number 2. Blueberries, the antioxidant that reconnects neurons. Next came the blueberries, not a fancy powder, not a supplement, just a handful of fresh or frozen blueberries. Why? Because these little berries are loaded with anthocyanins, plant compounds that protect the delicate blood vessels in your brain and improve communication between neurons. In clinical studies, blueberries have been shown to improve memory in adults over 65, enhance verbal recall and learning speed, reduce inflammation in the hippocampus, your memory center. They also support dopamine levels, helping improve motivation, attention, and mental clarity. John added half a cup of blueberries to his breakfast plate each morning. No sugar, no cereal, just berries. 10 days in, he told me, "I remembered 3 names in a row last Sunday. It just came back like something switched on." When you combine the choline-rich eggs with the antioxidant power of blueberries, you're not just feeding your body. You're literally rewiring your brain. Because breakfast isn't just a habit. It's a message telling your brain, we're ready to focus. We're ready to remember, and that's only the beginning. Next, I'll show you what John added midday to keep his mental energy sharp and his focus grounded. By midday, many men over 60 start to feel the fog. You lose your place in conversation. You reread the same page twice. You walk into the garage and forget why. It's not your willpower. It's your brain running out of fuel. The good news? You don't need a caffeine hit or a sugary snack. You just need the right kind of nourishment, foods that support blood flow, reduce inflammation, and keep your brain clear through the afternoon. Here's what I gave John to keep his focus sharp and his calm steady. Booster number 3. Walnuts, the thinking man's snack. There's a reason walnuts look like little brains, because they feed the brain in remarkable ways. Walnuts are rich in all omega-3 fatty acids, reduce brain inflammation; polyphenols protect against oxidative stress; vitamin E slows down cognitive decline; magnesium supports healthy brain signaling and mood. In fact, regular walnut consumption has been linked to better working memory, faster information processing, reduced risk of neurodegenerative decline. I told John, just one small handful, 6 to 8 walnuts around 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. No salt, no sugar, Just real food. Within a week, he reported, I don't hit that afternoon wall anymore. I feel more alert, even into the evening. Booster number 4. Avocado with olive oil. Fuel for the mind's wiring. The brain is over 60% fat by weight. And the fats it needs most? The kind found in avocados and extra virgin olive oil. Avocados are loaded with monounsaturated fats, protect the myelin sheath that insulates nerve cells. Vitamin E supports verbal memory. Potassium improves blood flow to the brain. Add a drizzle of olive oil, and you get oleocanthal, a compound that reduces brain inflammation. Improved nutrient absorption, especially fat-soluble vitamins like E and K. John started adding a few slices of avocado with olive oil to his lunch, sometimes over toast, sometimes next to his eggs, sometimes just by itself. He said, something about it grounds me. My mind feels less jumpy, more steady. Together, walnuts and avocado form a midday reset. Not a spike, not a crash. Just sustained clarity, grounded energy, and a nervous system that stays in balance. Because a clear brain doesn't need stimulation. It needs support. And before your brain settles into sleep at night, there's one last food that helps lock in memory and nourish recovery. Let's talk about that next. If there's one time of day your brain begs for support, it's not during meetings, errands, or phone calls. It's at night. Because while you sleep, your brain goes to work. It sorts memories, repairs connections, clears toxins, and lays the foundation for your next day's clarity. But that restoration can't happen if your brain is starving. And sadly, most men go to bed undernourished or worse, with sugar spikes that disrupt the very process they need most. That's why I gave John one simple but powerful nighttime food: Greek yogurt with cinnamon. Booster number 5. Greek yogurt plus cinnamon. Overnight fuel for cognitive repair. Greek yogurt is more than a snack. It's one of the best sources of slow-digesting casein protein, which feeds your brain and muscles steadily throughout the night. Here's what it gives you. Casein protein supports overnight neuron recovery. Calcium, essential for healthy nerve transmission. Vitamin B6 helps produce serotonin and melatonin. Probiotics support gut-brain connection and reduce inflammation. Cinnamon isn't just for flavor. It regulates blood sugar, preventing overnight crashes. Improves insulin sensitivity in the brain. Boosts circulation, helping deliver nutrients while you sleep. I told John, about an hour before bed, grab 1/2 cup of plain Greek yogurt. Add a dash of cinnamon. That's it. It became his evening ritual. A signal to his body that the day was winding down and healing could begin. A few weeks in, he said, I'm dreaming again, deep sleep. And I wake up more refreshed, like I actually rested. Your brain can't rebuild on empty. It needs gentle, nourishing fuel, not stimulants, not sugar, not guesswork. Greek yogurt with cinnamon does 3 things. Feeds the brain, balances your nervous system, improves sleep quality, which directly affects memory and clarity, and when your nights begin to heal you, your days begin to feel sharper. Next, I'll walk you through what you can realistically expect in the first 7, 14, and 30 days of using these 5 foods daily. Because results don't take years sometimes, they just take rhythm. Whenever I introduce these foods to a patient, there's one question I always hear: how long before I feel something? The answer isn't years. It's days. Because the brain is always listening, and when you start giving it the right signals, it responds faster than most men expect. Let me show you what that response typically looks like. After 7 days, you wake up a little clearer, your thoughts feel more organized, names, numbers, small details come with less strain. The fog that hovered through mornings begins to lift. John told me, I opened the paper, and I didn't have to read the headlines twice. After 14 days, your memory starts to feel sharper, you notice fewer lost words. During conversation, focus lasts longer while reading, driving, or managing tasks. Even your mood begins to feel more balanced. This isn't magic. It's blood flow improving. It's inflammation reducing. It's your brain reconnecting. Another patient, Harvey, 69, said, I'm remembering jokes again, and when I tell them, the punchline actually lands. After 30 days, clarity becomes your new baseline. You feel mentally stronger, more articulate, more present. Long-term memory improves. Family stories, past events, names and places return naturally. Conversations flow again, not forced, but free. And here's something deeper. You stop worrying about memory and start trusting your mind again. That's what happened for John. At his 1-month follow-up, he leaned back in his chair and said, "Doc, I feel like someone turned the lights back on upstairs. The truth is, your brain never gave up on you. It's been waiting. Waiting for oxygen. Waiting for nutrients. Waiting for you to believe that it's still possible to feel sharp, clear, and fully alive. And now that you've given it those tools, you've already started the return." Up next, I'll leave you with the most important message of all. Because this isn't just about memory, it's about who you are when your mind is clear. If no one's told you this lately, let me say it clearly: you're not losing your mind. You're not broken. You're not beyond help. And this isn't how your story has to end. What you're experiencing, the forgetfulness, the fog, the slips, isn't failure. It's a signal. Your brain is asking for something simple. Something it's quietly been missing: fuel. Not pills. Not pressure. Just real nourishment from real food, given at the right time, in the right way. Because the brain is not a machine. It's a living network. It remembers how to connect if you give it the tools to rebuild. And that's what you've done. With boiled eggs. With blueberries. With walnuts, avocado, yogurt, cinnamon. You've started to feed the parts of yourself that drifted. And here's the most powerful part: it's working. Every day you choose these foods, you send a message to your nervous system: I'm still here. I'm still sharp. I still matter. And little by little, your clarity returns, not like a flash, but like sunlight through clouds. So here's what I want you to do. Start tomorrow morning with intention. Boil 2 eggs. Add a handful of blueberries. Pack a few walnuts. Slice some avocado. End your night with yogurt and cinnamon. Don't overthink it. Just begin. Because your brain doesn't need perfection. It needs consistency. And if this message spoke to something inside you, if even one sentence felt like it described your experience, then type the word clarity in the comments below. Let me know you're ready to reset. I'll be reading and cheering you on. I'm Dr. Catherine Rocker. And I believe every man over 60 deserves to think clearly, speak confidently, and remember what matters most, not just for himself, but for the people who love him. You're not fading. You're returning. One bite at a time.